Hey, it's me, James. I am about to conduct this week's Oracle Outlook video reading, and it is Sunday, July the 20th, 2025, and we're going to be taking a look at the week ahead starting on Monday, July the 21st, 2025. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome, and if you're a returning viewer and subscriber, I'd like to say welcome back. Thank you so much for taking time to check out this video content and for supporting the work that goes into the channel. Okay, we're going to jump right in. So I love the phase that I'm finding myself in with the channel and its content, because once again I'm going to be honoring the request of a viewer. So what I love about this right now is that the requests keep rolling in and so it's helpful to me as the content creator of the channel to kind of get an idea of what people would like to see. So I want to thank each and every one of you who have taken the time to make suggestions, offer requests, things like that. You make my job just a little bit easier. And so I'm going to be working once again with a box spread because this particular viewer, and I don't want to mispronounce her channel's handle name, so I'm going to have it somewhere on the bottom of the screen as I'm talking out loud about it right now. And so this particular viewer watched last week's video, loved seeing a box reading, and I used the Gypsy cards last week because I was honoring the request of another viewer. And this particular viewer asked me if I would be willing to do another box reading, but this time she wanted me to use, and I'm using her words to the best of my ability, is that she wanted me to work with a pack of 52 cards. And so for me that translated, because she's in another part of the world, that translated to a deck of playing cards. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with one of my favorite decks of playing cards, and of course it is one of my own creation. I'm going to be working with the Mitchell Cartomancy Cards. And so the inspiration for this deck was that during the course of my still ongoing playing card series, which I call my personal study and practice of cartomancy using playing cards, people circled back around through the comment thread of different videos asking for tips and techniques about memorizing the cards. So that was a thing. And so I made this deck kind of oracle card style, where I placed an image based on one of the list of meanings that I have for each of the cards, because the cards are not static, they don't just have one meaning. But I went with an image and placed it in the center of each card. And so that was to help people maybe kind of just riff on the image, you know, and seeing how the image spoke to them as they were working on building up their possible list of meanings for the cards, right? But it's more of a symbolic or intuitive type impression rather than trying to remember static card meanings. So that was the inspiration for the deck. But when the deck was done, I really loved it, so I worked with it personally. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to take a moment to shuffle the cards. The question or intention for this week's general reading is just basically asking, what do we need to know or do possibly as we move through the upcoming experiences of the week ahead? So that's the intention and the question. Now I'm going to go ahead and shuffle and lay the cards out. Alright, the cards have been shuffled, cut, and dealt, and you'll see that I have them out in a box of 9, which is, or 3 by 3, 3 rows of 3. And so this is going to be an interesting experiment because I normally don't do a box reading with playing cards, but we are going to see how it goes. I'm excited. Okay, so as with all my box readings, I always start with card 5. Card 5 for me represents the focus the central issue, the heart of the matter, or maybe just like the theme overall, and then the other cards will be framing that focus or that theme. So the card is, okay, so here we have the Five of Clubs. So for me, in the system of cartomancy that I work with, the suit of clubs can represent things having to do with either the public, something of a social nature, or something job, work, or business related. Those are all my meanings for the suit. And so here we have the 5, and so the 5 is a number of change or activity. And so here in the image we have a woman who is in the process of having a job interview. One of the meanings for this card for me can represent people who are actively looking for work. That would be the situation or the context around the card. And then they are having a job interview or going on a job interview, right? So there is that possibility. So there may be some people who are focused on making a change within an existing job or business situation, right? And it may involve interviewing for other positions. So there is that. Now, if it's in a business context, not necessarily a job, employment type situation, then this could just be about being introduced to other people, right? And that would also fit with the public and social aspect of it, because this card can be like introductions being made, right? And I'm here in the United States, and more often than not, when we are introduced to other people or new people, we shake their hands, right? So it could just be a matter of being introduced to other people in a public or social situation, context, or setting, right? Now, it could also be about people who are in the job or employment situation or context being very busy with work, because again, this could represent job or business activities, but it can also represent the busyness of a particular job or business type situation, right? So there's that. Now, if I make it about something other than work or business, and maybe more the public social aspect of it, the idea of shaking hands with somebody can also be a form of an agreement. So it could be like people entering into agreements, right, and shaking on it, so to speak, right? But it could be about agreements, some kind of union, merger, get together. But again, this card can represent interviews, introductions, meetings, being active in business. This could also be like work or business where you work with your hands, right? The emphasis on the handshake. But it could also be a return to work. So sometimes this card can come up when somebody's been out of the job market for a while, and there's a situation that has taken place in their lives. It's kind of brought them back into the market, right? Looking for work kind of thing. So there is that. So that's what I would see. So again, this could be job and employment changes, business changes, business activities, job activities, things like that, or changes within work and employment, or work, changes within business. And that could also be, too, going with the public and the social aspect of the card. It could also be something changing within a public group or social group, something having to do with an agreement made within a public setting or a social setting, something of that nature. There may be either a change with that or some activity taking place within that. So like I said, this is the heart of the matter or the central issue or focus. The other cards may add more details to that, but that's what I want to say about the Five of Clubs right now. So now the opening card would be what I call the trigger, and it would be like why we are asking the question or why we are exploring the cards within this particular context. So here we have the Four of Hearts. So now the Four of Hearts is a card that talks about intimacy. You can clearly see on the image in the card that there are two people, a man and woman, who are extremely close, right? In my system of cartomancy, the one I've adopted, this is known as the marriage bed card, right? So it could just be a matter of talking about intimacy within relationships, not necessarily just physical or sexual intimacy, but intimacy generally speaking within the context or confines of relationships, right? Because the suit of hearts is about relationships, but how we choose to relate to other people, right? So if I set this card down, it could be, if this is the heart of the matter, a meeting, a social type thing, between two people, then it could just be a matter of, maybe that situation changing and becoming more intimate. And this is how, or this is what I mean by that. The 4 is a number that represents a foundation being laid, right? So it could just be saying to, like, the 5 of clubs could have been how it started, and now it's moved into this kind of zone, if you will, right? And so this card can turn up when people are feeling emotionally, that's the heart, safe or stable or secure with another person. That is a great lead-in for intimacy, right? Feeling safe and secure, right? But this card, the 4 of Hearts, can represent emotional stability, emotional security, feeling safe with another person, right? So now it could also be the converse. There may have been a change within a situation, especially if it's a public type thing, and I'm thinking like a group setting, community setting, where now there's a question of emotional safety and security, yeah? So it can either go one or two ways. Either something that was started out kind of on a social, in a social way, has now becoming more intimate, or there's something that has happened within an existing relationship, either job, business, public, social, and now we're questioning the sense of feeling safe within those confines. Right? So that's what I want to say about the 4 of Hearts. So now let's see, the last card would usually be how things end up. And so we have a great card here. Here we have the 9 of Diamonds. For me, the 9 of Diamonds is the one of the 2 wish cards in the deck. So if you're familiar with Cartomancy, more often than not, in other systems, it's the 9 of Hearts is known as the wish card, and it is the same in my system of Cartomancy. But this is also a wish card. The difference here is that the 9 of Diamonds is the wishes of other people. Yeah? So here we may have, if this is the starting card or the opening card, and this is the closing, there may be a wish for other people within the confines of a social, public type situation with other people, and there may be a wish or a desire for something to become more intimate, meaning like we're getting closer, forming a more closer bond, that kind of thing. Now, order of the cards. For me, the suit of clubs being about work or business, diamonds is the suit of the material matters and concerns of life. And so here we have work or effort, clubs, that pays off, because the suit of diamonds can represent a payoff, a reward, or some kind of benefit, right? And then one of the meanings of the 9 of Diamonds is about extra money coming in, right? So there may be, especially with someone maybe changing jobs, or maybe a change of job situation or employment situations or business matter, is like the end goal here is that extra money is going to be coming in. Now, if it's not that, and it's more of the other possibility that I was seeing with the 5 of clubs, and we're talking about something on a social public scale involving more people, then this card here for me can represent receiving money through means that you didn't necessarily work for, things like pensions. I mean, and some people might say, well, yeah, I did work for my pension. But that's over a course of time, right? So this card can represent things like pensions, disability, refunds, bonuses, things like that, right? And so where I'm going here is that there may be something shifting either with a group, socially or publicly, right? And it may center on some type of agreement where in the end that there's going to affect things like pensions, benefits, unemployment, disability, things like that. I see those types of ways of gaining money with this card. So that's another possibility. So again, Nine of Diamonds, it's about the wishes of other people. And so going forward or going through this week, just be mindful of maybe the things that you commit to, because other people may have expectations attached to those commitments, yeah, and about how you choose to honor them. So there is that. It could also be, again, about paying attention to how you may be affected if you're part of a larger group, where it comes to things like pensions, disability, unemployment, anything having to do with some kind of benefits. And again, it may be through systems in which you kind of put into it based on your own working history, life, things like that, right? So it could be part of systems that you have actually put money into, right? But there may be something about getting money out, since it's at the close of the layout here. So the other thing I want to say about the Nine of Diamonds, and this is one of my more woo-woo meanings for the card, and I'm not saying it like I have some shame around having woo-woo meanings for the cards, don't misunderstand me, but some people may not be into the woo. So if you're not one of those, you can just kind of bypass what I'm about to say. But if you are, this card is known for psychic ability. So I'm going to translate that as to paying attention to your intuition, right? We are all blessed with the gift or the faculty of intuition. So at this position here, it's making me feel like there may be something to be gained. 9 is the number of gain or attainment by paying attention to your intuition in certain situations involving other people. 5 of clubs, 4 of hearts. Yeah? Okay. So now let's take a look at all the other cards and kind of move this reading forward. So here we have Queen of Hearts, Ace of Diamonds. I thought I would see this card when I talked about commitment and agreements and mergers, things like that, because here in the Ace of Diamonds we have the picture of an engagement ring. So I'll talk more about that, but you see the ring there? Yeah? Okay. Then we have to the left of 5 of clubs, we have the 5 of diamonds, okay. Then we have on the other side, we have the Queen of Diamonds. So I'm noticing a lot of heart and diamond energy. These are all red cards with the exception of the 5 of clubs. So right now, ruling majority is that we have a lot of things dealing with emotional undercurrents or relationships. That would be the hearts. And then things having to do with the material side of life, or something having to do with rewards or resources or assets. That would be all the diamonds. Like this entire column here is all diamonds, right? Okay. Then we have here, breaking it up, we have the Queen of Spades, our first Spades card, and another Queen. We have 2 queens, 3 queens, wow. Okay, so let me stop here. So we have 3 queens on the table, 3 out of 4. There's only 4 on a playing card deck. So there may be something involving a group of women. And what did I say here about something having to do with the public or something having to do with social in terms of a group or a community, right? There may be something about women in particular that's coming to the forefront this week. Okay, and then last card is the 5 of Spades. Okay, and then we have 3 5s. So we have queens in the ruling majority in terms of face cards. We have the number 5 repeating 3 times. So 5, again, remember, is a number that represents activity. It represents change. So there may be some changes, and it's going to either involve women or affect women either directly or indirectly, right? But it could be like women are going to be taking center stage this week. Okay. Yeah, so let's move on to looking at all the cards. So typically I read the columns if you follow my box readings for any period of time. So I'm looking at this since we're talking about the week. So this could be beginning of the week, middle of the week, end of the week. And then I'm going to put into practice what I have learned from a traditional gypsy card reader. I talked about that last week. So this could be the headline. This could be what's staring us in the face. And this could be what we are standing over, because this would be under. Or this could be like thoughts, and this would be feelings, or this would be influences, and then things that we control, right? And it's going to be interesting to note because we have queens here. So we have face cards, people here, and so we would also apply some of the directional cues involving them. So we'll start with the Queen of Hearts at the top. So here we have the Queen who's at the top. And so now, if this is about a particular woman, and each queen has a different description, right? So she would be considered the wife and mother of the queens. I'll hold it card up. So she would be the wife and the mother. And I went with an image of a woman holding a baby, right? So this could literally be a woman who is a wife and a mother, right? Or symbolically, it could represent the caring and nurturing of children. So this could be maybe somebody who's not a natural mother, but maybe somebody who cares for children, and that could be part of her occupation. Remember, Five of Clubs being in the position of the focus. So we have that. Or that the baby is symbolic of responsibility, and this is about caring and nurturing responsibilities, right? Taking care of your responsibilities this week, right? So there's that. Now, directional cue. She's at the top, which means that all of this is underneath her, which means that this is situations that are under her control. Out of all the queens, because she's on the top, she probably has the most control here. So again, standing on all of these. She's looking, or at least facing. She's not actually looking, but facing to the right. So this would be the past, or inauspicious placement or challenge for her, because she's not looking at these cards. So these would be cards that would be challenging to her. And then these would be cards that she is facing, so things that are coming up in the course of the week that she'd be willing to face. Okay, so let's talk about it. So now here, Four of Hearts behind her, this would suggest maybe challenges with intimacy in her relationship, her primary relationship. Now remember, if she's the wife and mother, then she would be married, right? Remember, this is the marriage bed card, so there may be issues regarding physical intimacy, right? Or a challenge with emotional stability and security in a relationship, right? Or she's moving through an emotional experience, and it's affecting her ability to be close to other people. Right, and it could be men in particular, because now there are no kings here, right? All queens, right? And then what is she doing? She's facing Ace of Diamonds. Again, this is the engagement ring card. That's the image I went with. So this card can be about commitment, right? Signaling the symbolic meaning of an engagement ring. So this could be about a serious commitment, an engagement. The ring is also a circular symbol, so it talks about cycles or patterns. So for this particular queen, she may be faced with recurring cycles and patterns that are taking place within an emotional relationship, either her marriage or something that's kind of on the same level as that. But it may also be affecting her ability to be close to other people. But with the baby and the ring, it could be a matter of taking on some level of responsibility, right? A new responsibility, and then maybe being committed or engaged in that process. Now the Ace of Diamonds can also represent the beginning stage of a new phase or chapter in one's material life. So again, if this is about work or business, then this could be about, money attached to that, a new income stream, a new income source, a new resource, right? And that would make sense given that it comes after, in the column after the Five of Clubs. So those are some possibilities with this row. Now I want to come to this queen, right? I thought I was going to do the columns first, but it looks like I'm doing the rows first. Okay, so now this particular queen, now she's got two cards behind her. So this would be considered inauspicious placement, because the way I would read the directional cue on this card is that this would be the left side and this would be the right. So left being the past, right being the future, right? So she may be dealing with something from the past, right? This card immediately closest to her would be some sort of agreement. Now, the 5 of diamonds on the other side of her, right? So we have a pattern here before I pick up the card. You have a diamond, club, diamond. So there may be something about reward, work and effort, reward, right? That kind of thing. But this card, I call it the jury is still out card, because for me, this card can represent, based on the image, it can represent legal matters. It can also represent, with that process, things like affidavits, petitions, motions, briefs, all those legal types of paperwork that are involved in legal proceedings. Now, with an empty courtroom, it could represent the beginning stages of a legal matter, right? That may have already happened, right? If this is in her past, that may have already happened. Or that there is a decision that needs to be made. If we take it out of the realm of legality and law and law enforcement, possibly, then this card could just mean that there is a process maybe where a decision is still pending, right? Like we haven't made our mind up about something. Right, and then of course, if I pair these two cards to 2 5s, then I'm seeing, a possibility here of a legal matter where there's an agreement struck, right? Almost like a settlement, or settling out of court, right? That's what I'm getting here, and it may involve a woman. Now, this card, when I was designing this deck, the card actually wanted me to give it a name. So this card is known as the Earth Mama card. And so because of the image, this is a woman who cares and nurtures, because the theme of Queens is about caring and nurturing as a theme, right? If it's not about a woman in particular, the theme of it may be applicable to the situation, right? So this is about caring and nurturing for the environment, yeah? So this could be somebody who may be politically motivated to be eco-conscious, right? So there may be something having to do with environmental law even, or something affecting the environment, and trying to strike a deal or reach an agreement regarding that, right, because of where she's at. So that's what I would say about the Earth Mama card. Now, if it is, I thought I was done. So now, if it is about job, employment, things like that here, about returning to work, maybe interviewing, then the Queen of Diamonds is about what are your qualifications, yeah? So going through the process where you get to kind of detail what your qualifications are and what makes you qualified for the job that you are pursuing. So that's what I want to say about the Queen of Diamonds. And this thought is coming to me. Here with the Queen of Hearts, we have caring and nurturing for people, right? She's holding a baby. Here we have caring and nurturing for the environment, yeah? Interesting. And now we're going to have another queen here who's going to be caring and nurturing for something else that just came to me in the moment. So let's talk about her. So now, she's at the opposite side of the box than the Queen of Diamonds, right? Whereas the Queen was in the last column. And interestingly enough, we had the Queen of Hearts in the middle column. She's on the other side, the far end of the left column, right? So we have one queen in each of the columns. Okay? So she is facing this way, whereas these cards were behind this particular queen. These cards are in front of her, whereas the Queen of Hearts was actually evenly placed, where she had a card behind her and a card in front of her. But she has 2 cards in front of her. Okay, so now let's talk about her. So for me, the suit of spades can represent problems, challenges, blocks, or obstacles. Yeah? And so this Queen of Spades, is wearing all black. So she is known for being divorced, widowed, or separated, right? She is the exact opposite, the polar opposite of the Queen of Hearts. And in the system that I work with, the system of cartomancy, that is the case with most of the cards. Like the suit of hearts and the suit of spades are like polar opposites of each other, right? So she is divorced, widowed, or separated, so it could be one of those things. And let's not forget that she's got the Five of Diamonds, the empty courtroom above her, yeah? I just realized that. Here we had the marriage card, court card, and now her card. So it's like she has gone through maybe a process of separation from a primary relationship, yeah? So there is that. But she's wearing all black, so this could be about grieving, mourning, that change in status, that transition, yeah? But if you notice, look how she has the jacket draped over her shoulders, around her. It's almost like a form of protection, right? And the suit of spades for me is more mental, whereas the suit of hearts is more emotional, right? So this is a woman who is logical, rational, analytical, may come across a little cold or distant because she's not really that emotionally affectionate, right? One could even argue based on the body posturing that she's kind of wrapped up in herself, yeah? That would be maybe a harsh or extreme aspect of this queen. But what I want to offer is that where I saw the Queen of Hearts talking about caring and nurturing of people, this queen talking about the caring and nurturing of the environment, this one is the care and nurturing of the self, yeah? And maybe as a form of protection and self-preservation. Oof. Right? But this is a woman who could be problematic, difficult. Again, that could be like, aloof, reserved, distant. She knights to the Queen of Hearts. Actually, she knights to both queens, but she knights to the Queen of Hearts. In this regard, it makes me feel like maybe a woman who is maybe possibly even estranged from children. Right, so I talked about her wearing black like a widow, right? So it could be a woman who is going through a change or transition in life in which she is learning through the challenges she's going to be facing about standing on her own, being independent. I'm hearing the Kelly Clarkson song Miss Independent in my head, yeah? But it's usually as a result of going through trying times, trials, difficulties, things like that. Okay, so now she's looking ahead. So now let's talk about the card that she's immediately facing, or that's immediately touching her, which is the Five of Spades. Here we have a card that talks about separation, right? For me, this is known as the split or separation card, right? And how interesting it is that it knights to Four of Hearts, or Four of Hearts knights to this. So again, we have this idea about a particular emotionally stable, secure, feeling safe within the confines of a relationship, intimacy changing, shifting to a possible split, separation, division. Right? And so the image is a person who's holding a scalpel. And so this could be the action or activity. Remember, 5 is about activity. The activity of cutting something, separating something, splitting something, dividing something. Yeah? And this is a card that talks about the idea where I was talking about with the Queen of Spades, about independence and standing on your own 2 feet. But it happens through trials, tribulations, problems, challenges, obstacles. Now for me, when I get this card, it turns up for me, based on the scalpel, it could also represent the idea of handling sharp objects so you don't get cut, right? So there is that as a possibility, but I'm seeing this idea of a split, separation, divorce. And as a result of that, you know, going through that challenge, it come on the other side of it about becoming more independent, learning to stand on your own 2 feet. And then of course the 9 of diamonds coming after it would be about, you know, seeking to gain something of a material nature. So that would be extra money coming in. So now if we have a working situation, this card might suggest severance, and then this might be your severance package here with these cards. And either you're doing it because you need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, or that you have people who are dependent on you. That kind of thing. So that's what I'm seeing with the Queen. Now the last thing I will say about this Queen, and then we'll take a look at the columns really quickly, see if there's anything else I want to add. And then I might try a different technique because I'm feeling in the mood. Alright, so whereas the Queen of Hearts was on the top and all of this was under her control, this Queen has the reverse. She has all these cards that are weighing on her, yeah? And also too, she's looking this way, so all these cards are future oriented, but the fact that she's got these cards above her could just represent influences, you know, especially with the 2 queens, other people influencing her, but just being weighed down visually, right? It's about being weighed down, bogged down by certain situations, and potentially those situations being very, very stressful, yeah? Now the only other thing I will say about the 5 of spades for me is that it's a card of surgery, so it could just be a matter of somebody is actually, you know, considering the idea, jury's still out, considering the idea of surgery to correct something in their within their physical body, right? That would be Queen of Diamonds type energy, right? And needing to make a decision around that, or even take some action to have the procedure done, right? So there is that. So let's take a look at the columns quickly. I really touched on this with this Queen, right? I'm seeing like intimacy, marriage bed, legal action that's pending, and then at the end of this is a woman who's divorced, widowed, separated. Here we have maybe a woman who's had a baby, you know, going back into work, you know, needing to deal with the changes of, you know, being gone from the working world and having to return to it. I remember that it was a little bit of a shock for me in terms of culture, like a culture shock a little bit, when I stepped out of the job employment situation, right? I left the company that I worked at the time to start my own personal life coaching practice, and then I wound up returning to that when COVID kind of wreaked havoc in my business, yeah? And so it was a little bit of a shock to go from working for the man, as I call it, to working for yourself, then going back to working for the man. A little bit of a culture shock, yeah. So I'm seeing that as a possibility here. And then here, on this side, we have all diamonds, right? So this is the start of a new material phase. It may require a commitment. The Queen is thinking about that because it's above her. So she's either thinking about her level of commitment, how engaged she will be in the process, that kind of thing. And under her is the 9 of diamonds. So here we have the beginning stages of something, implementing something, initiation into something, and then gain or attainment with the 9 underneath her. So this could just be a process moving from start to finish, right? So that's what I'm seeing with these cards. So now, the thing that I wanted to do, this is a Lenormand technique I learned eons ago, and it's called counting round. And I got this process from my favorite book on Lenormand, and it is called The Complete Lenormand Oracle Handbook. It's by Kathleen Matthews, and she calls this process counting round. So when you're doing a box reading, you want to extract what's called a line of 5. So we're going to do that now. So you start with the focus card. You count to 1, 2. This becomes your next card. Count 2, 1, 2. Becomes your next card. Count 2, 1, 2. Then that becomes your 4th card, and then 1, 2 for your 5th and final card. Then we're going to move these cards. Alright, so we're going to read this as a line of 5. Right, so here we have a new focus card, right? Because when I work with a line of 5, the middle card, card 3, is always the focus. So here we have the focus being on gain or attainment of a material nature. So we talked about this before. So this could be acquiring money, gaining money, because it's a money, extra money coming in card, right? That energy. Or we're being asked to trust our intuition, and I'm going to go with that as a possibility too, because this card is being flanked by 2 queens. Queens represent our female or feminine nature, right? Female aspect, our feeling nature, right? And that is how our intuition operates. It operates through our feeling nature, so there may be something about that as well, right? And then what do we have? We had 2 queens, right? We have the queen who is single, separated, divorced, widowed, right? Being on her own, independent, and what's the gain? Then she becomes a wife and a mother, so there's a change in status, right? If it's not that, then it's about acquiring some new responsibility, some level of responsibility in one's material life. That would be the diamonds. And it could be something that has an emotional reward. Now here we have the 5 of clubs. Remember, this was the card that talked about changes within work or business or something of a public or social nature, right? So being introduced to someone or something new, right? Some sort of change or activity. Now here we have the suit emblems. We have a club and a spade. So this is about working clubs into a problem, challenge, block, obstacle, spades. And it would suggest with the diamond coming after it that it's going to require some work and effort, but there will be some sort of reward or payoff for it. And then right after that we have 2 red cards. So we have a heart and then a diamond again. So there's a pattern there. This could be about emotional rewards, not necessarily just material or physical, but something of an emotional nature. And then we have the 2 5s flanking. So this is an interesting pattern. Look at this. We have a 5, a queen, the 9, then a queen, and then a 5. Right, so it's almost like a reflection kind of thing. A reflection kind of pattern. So it could be, since I'm noticing the pattern, it could be like things that are taking place this week are an opportunity for greater reflection. Yeah? So for some of us, we're being asked to look at what's going on in our job and business lives, maybe our social lives, right? Some of us looking through the lens of problems, challenges, obstacles, and then others are looking through the lens of material concerns like physical well-being, career, finances, and then others still are looking through their emotional lives and the way they choose to relate to other people. Right? But at the end, with the 5 of diamonds, there could be a need by the end of the week to make a very important decision. Or if we're going, this is the public, changes within the public, then it may end up with something going to court or, you know, through legal means or legal channels, and it's going to end up with somebody needing to make some kind of ruling or verdict or decision in that particular aspect, context, or situation. Yeah. And at the heart of it, there may be about compensation. Yeah. This would be gain or attainment. So there may be something about compensation, and it may involve, I'm seeing something, now I'm not a lawyer, so this is where I have to put in my disclaimer, so I'm seeing something like a class action suit perhaps, and it may be something that involves a group of women. And so I'm going to leave it there. And so if you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time. This is James and Mitchell. As I wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook video reading, I want to wish you a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next Oracle Outlook video reading. And if you have a particular request, something you'd like to see, a particular system, a particular type of spread, that kind of thing, just let me know in the comment section below, and I will put you on the list. Again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you to those of you who've been, again, reaching out for your suggestions. It means the world to me that you believe that I have something specific of interest to you to share. And with that, take care.